we're going to jump into recruiting and retention and training agents. And we have some powerhouse speakers that are going to help us understand that process. And if you're a solo agent or if you are a team agent, I don't want you to get up and leave right now because we have designed this to also be beneficial to you guys as well. So stick around, don't get up. We've got a lot of little nuggets in here for everyone in the room. And we want to get started, jump right into this amazing content. So if you guys can, do you have anything else to say about that?
Nope.
All right, let's welcome Anthony, Kelsey, Mike, and Long to the stage. I gotta have my cheat notes up now, and I'm gonna give you this back to you.
All right, so we don't lose it?
All right, yeah. So we're gonna roll through a lot of information really fast. We're gonna start with recruiting. We're gonna go into training, and okay, you've recruited this agent, so now how do you get them up to speed? How do you train them? And then how do you make sure they stick around? We spend so much time recruiting and training, we want them to stick around.
And before we do that, we want them just quickly to introduce.
Yes, please, introduce
why are you so amazing, right? Long, go ahead and tell us about yourself quickly.
All right, Long Don. I've helped personally everyone. Hey, this is a great day today, but this is probably your best panel you're going to be at because you're going to learn. Because we're in a people business, right?
Yeah.
So acquiring human capital should be your number one thing that you need to learn. So for me, I've helped recruited over 2,500 people. I've helped bring on and buy and sell over 2,000 people. And I have a lot of friends that I help recruit it and vendors. So I'm really good at recruiting, and I love to share.
All right, awesome. Mike?
So my name is Mike Bernier. I'm partners with Long, so I can pretty much say everything he did. He pretty much stole both of our thunder, but I'll go a different direction. First off, who is a team leader or broker owner in here? How many we got? Quite a few. Okay, good deal. I just want to make sure we know which room we're talking to.
Hi, everyone. I'm Anthony John. I'm from Metro Detroit. I run a really large teamage in the Metro Detroit area. My specialty is taking agents that are average and quadruplifying their volume. That's what I do best.
I'm Kelsey Huertas. I'm on Barry's team out in Virginia Beach, Better Homes and Gardens. About 10 months ago now, I started doing the recruiting for the firm, and in the last 10 months, I've brought on about 24 people, all while still full-time agents. So, I'm excited to share with you guys.
And so this session's on recruiting, training, and retaining, and Kelsey's a great example. She had a lot of legitimate complaints about my team. And initially it was like, this is kind of annoying. And as I started to listen to her, I really agreed with what she was saying. And I realized that she was in touch with my sales team in a way that I was unable to. So be careful what you complain about because it might just get you a job. And she's crushed it over the last year, hiring over 22 agents for our team. So fantastic stuff all around.
So let's jump into recruiting. So like I said, we got a lot to cover, but let's jump into recruiting. I want to recruit some agents. Where do I start? Long, what do I need to do first?
Well, again, I know we're talking about recruiting agents, but it's actually recruiting buyers and sellers and all this relationship, right? So the same process works.
Right.
But for us, you got to know who you are because you want to create a profile agents or customers you want to go after that align with you because you want to attract them to and not just chase them. So you want to be a luxury agent. Then you want to go after the luxury buyer seller. You want to be going after, like Anthony said, the one that he can help bring them to the next level. So for us, we go after first. We start with a couple of different KPIs. One is production. So we seem to really do well with agents doing about 6 to 20 transactions a year in our market. So that's our target audience we go up first. The second one for us is the model. We know what model we can create and recruit against the best. In our market, for some reason, we're very friendly with KW agents. One of every 3 agents with us come with KW. So we target them, unfortunately, for them. And then, geographically. The agent might come to the office once or twice a year, if at all. We do have offices. They want to know there's one within 30 minutes. So that's kind of our very first level of agent profiling, the target audience that we go after, and we have a whole process system after that.
Well, so the other thing that was interesting, and Mike, I want you to touch on this, was that part of your agent profile, or I call it an avatar, but part of your agent profile was also their style of business. So, I mean, the first thing I asked you was, well, how do you figure that out? What are you talking about?
So first off, Long's right. The way that we're eventually going to get that meeting, that interview, is going to be by how we design the target. During the interview process, you have to figure out if that person's going to be a fit. And I don't know about you guys that are still in production, but many times I probably should have fired a buyer or seller that was not a fit, and it just was awful for both parties, right? So one of the best things you can do if you're growing a team, if you're starting out brand new as a team, you're just getting started, or have been running a team for a long time, understanding who's going to work really well with you. So for example, if my team is really built on leads, I'm buying a lot of leads, and my expectation is I'm going to give these leads to these agents, they have to close them. And on paper, the agent looks good. They're doing 10 deals a year, 12 deals a year. You want to maybe help them get to 25 or 30 or whatever it is. But having a conversation with them, you figure out all they do is relationship business, SOI. So it's really difficult at times to get somebody that relies on relationships solely for people to come to them to not pick the phone up and call leads. Not that it can't be done, but you have to understand what you're up against with that. Especially if you have expectations that they're going to close maybe more than one, maybe like 1.5 to 2 leads per month. It's very difficult to turn that SOI agent into that lead converter. It can be done, but that has to fit your model. Secondly, if your model is going to be really built on prospecting, picking the phone up, cold calling, FSBOs, expireds, that is a special animal. Not everybody's going to do that. So understanding exactly stylistically who's going to fit in your model has been a huge game changer for us.
I got to tell you, I've made that mistake before, actually maybe more than once.
Well,
the definition of insanity.
Yeah.
I've brought on the wrong style.
I mean, if we're being honest, when you're trying to grow a team, you're just sometimes just really excited that someone's joining, right?
Yeah.
But just quickly, and this is a question for all of you. Sorry.
No, okay.
In Mike and Long's answer, they talk about like trying to assess whether or not this is a good fit for you, right? When you think about what you're doing or what you're telling your recruiter to do, what are some questions or ways that you're surfacing that this person's not a good fit? What would be an example of a question?
So I think one thing, and this is probably going to jump into another question I was going to have here, but one thing I'm really careful to do is not just feature dump all over an agent we're recruiting. Not just sit there and try to sell how great we're going to be or what we're going to give them.
Yeah.
I like to take a much more diagnostic approach.
Okay.
I like to start by asking questions.
Okay.
Questions like, what is it about where you're at right now that you like? What is,
what you hate about where you're at, but what you like about where you're at.
Exactly.
And why is that an important question?
It's an important question because oftentimes you'll find people coming from a team or a brokerage that aren't engaged with that team or brokerage. There's things that they could be using that they're not. So I like to figure out, what's this person actually doing?
Yeah.
Because again, if I'm talking to them and I'm feature dumping on them, I'm assuming that what I'm saying is going to be important. But when I ask them, really what their needs are, they might talk about something that I'm not even thinking about.
Sure.
Now I want to match whatever value I have to that need.
Okay.
That's where I'm going to shift the conversation to.
Got it.
Did you hear him say feature dumping? I like that, and I want to tie that into a listing presentation real quick too. How many of you guys do that? You go on a listing presentation and you assume that the seller wants the most money possible, when in reality, that's not what they want. That's not their motivation. He's applying the same exact thing to talking to agents. What is it that they want or need?
Love that. Anthony, same question. What's a way that you surface if an agent isn't a good fit for you?
Well, in the interview process, when we're doing the discovery, as we say, and when we feel an agent out, I'm usually the second person, and so I think you're pretty familiar with how I run my brand. So we always take the top agent in the company, and we make them a team captain, and then when we bring on new agents, we assign them to one of the team captains. So that way, they get the best hands-on feel on how they should be doing their business, right? So we always have the strong leading the strong versus, like I see at most brokerages where there's the blind leading the blind.
Right.
So when they do the interview, I'm the second person in. I've got it's kind of hard for me to describe. I kind of feel somebody out pretty well, meaning that just in their mannerisms, the way they talk, and there's a certain style that we look for at the brands because we're really picky with who comes on.
So if they're bad dressers, it's a hard no.
Well,
no, I'm just
I mean,
kidding.
if they come and interview with me and they're not suited and booted, 99,
there you go.
I mean, they'd have to sound pretty damn well, but 99% they're not coming on board.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Kelsey, same question.
Kind of just have a conversation. And I know that sounds super simple, but depending on how that conversation goes, just kind of gives me a feel if you're going to be a good fit for us, right? I mean, if you come in and off the bat you're just complaining about all the brokerages you've been through or anything like that, are we next on that list? Like, where are we going here? Or,
Show them the door right away.
Well, it took you there was a few, in the beginning, there was a
Yeah.
few times she was like, hey, I know I'm paid to hire people, but I don't
Can I
think
say
they're
no?
going to be good. Like, and I was like, I don't want them. They're not going to be good. I don't want them.
well,
So
yeah, and that was my biggest thing. I'm like, can I say no, or do you have to say no, or like, how do we do this? Because it's a different dynamic for me, right? I'm an agent still on the firm, so. But really, I kind of just get to know them too, and the same thing that I do with clients is getting to know them as a person and going from there. And the same thing, I don't feature dump. We have so many tools. It takes me a long time to go through it. And at first, that's how I started, because I'm new to this recruiting thing. At first, that's how I started, and I'm like, yeah, this sucks. I don't like doing this, so I made it very simple to where we just talk, have a conversation. I find out what you're looking for, and I try to go based off that. If you're off rep asking about splits or anything like that, you may not be the fit, because we're looking for agents that are dedicated. They want to collaborate. They want to grow and things like that. So that's kind of how I.
Barry, wouldn't you agree though? Bringing on the wrong person. I see that so many brokerages. They have this thing where they just want all these people to join in, and then what happens is these certain negative characters, they just create such a toxicity within that brand, and hardly anybody does any business.
Right.
And I just don't understand why they do that.
Right.
I'm sorry, Mike. I want to make sure you brought up a really interesting red flag in talking about like when you were interviewing agents that I was like, interesting. I like that. Remember what you said?
Yeah, so we're in the people business, right? So people work with people they like and trust. Because the way we target our agents or buyers or seller, by the time we meet with them, you can stalk them now, social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, right? So for us, when we meet with an agent or client, we can look them all up. And I have a process system that I follow, because you all should have process system. And for me, it's I use FROG, which is the acronym from the 7 levels of communication, right? Family, recreation, occupation, goals. So I can find out, hey, you live in Minneapolis, blah, 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 what do you do for fun? Oh, I see you coach baseball to your son. And then occupation, like how many deals, transactions you closed last year. If I was an interviewing agent, what your goal is. The point is, I know enough about them that the red flag for me is how they answer the questions. So for example, number 1, hey, I tricked them or I manipulate them to doing this. That's not a good fit for us, right? That's a red flag. Or I know their production. How'd you do last year? I did 32 deals. Well, BS, I see 18, right? So you already know these kind of things. So those are all red flag I get from just having conversation, because they let the guards down when it's not an interview.
Well, and the other thing that you mentioned is you said that if they're trying to make a move too fast.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's the other thing, too, because you want to know why they're making the move, because if their buyer sellers are the same, if they just want to use you right away before they even hear more about you, something is up. Same with an agent. They're moving too fast as a red flag, because they haven't heard enough about us yet, so how do you even know what the right fit?
Mike, did you have something to add?
Yeah, and it's going to go back onto what Anthony was talking about and what Barry was going to talk about, of not hiring the wrong people, right? Because here's the deal. How many people in the audience now are kind of fledgling team leaders? You got a small team, 1, 2, 3 people. How many of them?
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah,
Right,
a lot of
right,
people,
okay.
yeah.
So that's, I think, one of the pressures we get as new team leaders. We got to take anybody. In fact, there's a lot of people coaching that. Take anybody, you got to get started. One of the fastest ways to kill any organization of any size is start hiring the wrong people. 100% of the time it's going to happen. It's a culture killer. And when it comes to organizational culture, you're going to either have it by default or by design.
And it affects the top producers too.
It does.
It really does.
It does. And if you're going to set a culture by design, you have to protect it. You have to be careful. Everybody you bring into that is going to fit. Even if you grow slower, you're going to grow more effectively.
But don't you think, like, if you've got 3 agents or 4 agents, it's a scary proposition to get rid of 25% of your sales staff, which is 1
100%.
person, right? Yep. So you would, I assume you'd have to have the conviction that you're headed in the right direction.
Well, you got to have a slingshot effect, right? Sometimes you got to go back to go forward, right? So believe me, I've seen that because I do a lot of coaching nationally, and I go on to these teams, and then I see what the problem is, and it's usually a certain group of people that are the negative sayers. Then they start to influence the middle crowd, and before you know it, they've hit the top producers, and this is where you see exodus, where you see people going from one brand to another brand, and it all started with 1 or 2 people, and that's where you got to be very careful.
Yeah, I mean, Kelsey hired 22, but about a year ago, we cut out about 15
Right.
that were doing that exact thing. Good people, I'm not mad at them, but it just was, it was hurting us.
We wish them well, but goodbye.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm going to skip around in my notes a little bit, so hopefully this is okay with everybody. But I want to go to, you kind of touched on this already, like with asking about, the people in the room that have 1 to 3 agents and, not bringing on the wrong people and just feeling like you've got to take everybody. And I have done this, I've felt this way where it's like, well, they want to join me, so I have to take them, right? Like I need more agents, that's what everybody keeps saying, so I just have to do this. So Mike and Anthony, I want to hear from you too, but I like all of this is great with big systems and programs and all this stuff, but I just want to bring a couple agents on, and I don't know where to start with that. And how do I attract?
Can I tackle that? So
Yeah.
when I first started, our business, I was big into social media, and I highlighted all my wins, all the successes. I'm all about the optics, right? The suits, the cars, all this stuff. And before you know it, I started having like a cult-like following. Like people are just loving my stuff, and they were local Metro Detroit agents. And then now my Instagram is at, 1.2 million followers. And what I noticed throughout the years is that the people that are joining our brand are coming to me because they love what they see, the optics. Because let's say, I'm not saying anything against Keller Williams, we're just using them as an example. Let's say the typical Keller Williams agent that is at his brokerage, they're not doing any of this stuff. They're not highlighting the successes. They're not doing these crazy fun masterminds, things like that. So we're attracting all of our people through that, and there's a certain vibe, right? Your vibe attracts your tribe. And this is why I feel that our brand, our per agent, we're averaging $1 million a month per agent, which is really, really high, right? And that's just on an average, right? There's a lot that are doing $3, $4, $5 million a month.
Right. Well, people join people.
Right.
Yeah. Mike, how do I attract agents if I don't think I'm very attractive?
So, a really good question, right? The reality is a lot of people start trying to grow a team even before they're ready to grow a team. So one of the best ways to do it is get yourself highly busy, to the point that you need to scale. When you've got so much opportunity that you can't handle it, you have to find people to help. And you're going to attract a lot more people when your name's out there everywhere in the market. When everybody's looking, you're doing all the business, it's a lot easier to attract good agents. When you're trying to start out and you're doing 6, 7 deals a year yourself and you want to be a team leader, it's a lot harder to find people that are going to follow you. You're not an attractive option at that point. People want to follow people doing more, better than they're doing. So, keep that in mind. If you're at that point, you're thinking of starting a team, how much more can you grow and scale yourself before you have to bring somebody on?
Right. And I think maybe even using those agents that you bring on as your leverage to get them productive really quickly. So you're my showing partner. You're going on listing appointments with me. We're collaborating together. That is an attractive thing. Like, I'm going to get you into production.
And the truth is, the newer teams don't necessarily have the proof of concept.
Right.
So what you have to do is provide the proof of concept, or first with yourself, then with the people that you bring on, you're getting them leveled up fast. That's where the proof of concept really comes. Now, I know in the beginning of this, we talked about the value for you if you're not a team leader or broker. Here's really the value. The reality is you should be helping your team grow. There's a personal interest in it for you. And the reason I say that is we're talking about hiring the wrong people. It's also really good for you and your community to bring the right people in. I don't want to be the smartest guy in the room. If I'm the best agent on the team and I'm going, I'm the number one, I want to stay number one, and it's all about me, you're looking at it wrong. I want to bring people in because the more people I bring in that are above me, I can learn from, I can collaborate with. You're going to end up being more like the people you're around. Help grow your community and help grow the resources so your community can do more.
I want to just add one thing to that too. I think if you're like a small team, 1, 2, 3 people, and you're trying to add, say, another 3, 4 different agents on your team, you should have some kind of incentive for that agent to bring somebody on, because like it or not, if they don't have an incentive, even though they love you or like you or respect you, they're not going to do it. But if you have an incentive to give them maybe a per deal for the first 6 months, hey, whoever you bring in, because remember, the people that are coming in from another agency, they might have 2 or 3 people that they're really bonded up with, and if they're drinking the Kool-Aid really good, they'll bring those 2, 3 people with them. And hey, there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, if you bring in an extra few people, we'll give you an extra, whatever they do, a couple $100 per transaction, or whatever it is that you want to do.
Yeah.
Believe me, that's what we do at our brand, and it works.
No, I believe you. Yeah. So really great overview of recruiting. I want to pivot quickly to training with the limited time that we have left. Kelsey, about a year ago, speaking about the Peers Initiative, there was a problem you were trying to solve for, and I want you to talk about how you tried to solve that problem and what the results anecdotally have been for you.
Well, and actually, tell us like what the problem was. Like,
Yeah.
define that
Yeah.
as well.
So we had a lot of, motivational talks, and we have our morning huddles and things like that, and a lot of it was go out there and be great. But then I was like, okay, well, how? Like, yeah, everybody's already great. You guys have been doing this for a long time, our brokers, and our top producers doing it for a really long time. But then you have the new agent. I'm like, okay, that's great, but you have all this experience on me. And so it was frustrating because it was intimidating to go up to a 20-year veteran and say, hey, how do I do this basic task? How do I do this basic thing? And so, the idea started from a friendship I made early on in real estate with Danielle. She's over there.
Yeah, there she is right there.
And
yeah.
so we partnered on really early, and we kind of just complained, like, oh, this sucks, I can't get this. And we kind of just fed off of each other. Like, we gave ourselves 5 minutes to have a pity party, and then we're like, all right, come on, let's go. We laughed about it and kept it pushing. But then it turned into things like, well, now this is someone that I can go to and ask these simple questions, and we can bounce ideas off of. So I felt like we needed it on a bigger platform, which is where the Peers Initiative came from. And so what I started doing was weekly, and it was, work in progress. It was, but weekly I meet, I just have it open. Whether nobody shows up or 10 people show up, it doesn't matter. It's just there. Everybody knows it's on the calendar. This is where you can come and sit down with me, and if I don't have the answer, I'll help you find the answer. But it's where you can ask the basic questions. How do I log into Zoom? I can't get the calendar invites on my, Google, or it can be something as crazy as we've done CMAs with people in these groups, and you have a collaborative group of people you're getting ideas from more than just me or more than just your broker. You're learning from different people, which is what I always recommend, because your style is not going to mimic somebody else's style when it comes to real estate. And so having a collaborative group where you can do something like that I think it's pretty beneficial.
Yeah, and one of the things you said that, because I like to think I'm a pretty approachable guy, and it was a reality check for me. She said some of the agents are afraid to come to you sometimes to ask simple questions.
Well,
And
I was.
And I want to give them a safe place to learn. I want to give them a place where they can complain, right? And I can redirect them. And I thought that was, and the results of it have been fantastic. They've created a culture where agents actually want to come to the office, which in our day and age is really not customary. So
Yeah, it gives them a safe place to ask questions, but also, you are a really approachable guy.
Yeah.
But people they'll feel dumb for asking questions
Well,
that they think are just too simple.
Yeah, it was more so bothering them, right? So, principal broker running the firm, Barry's doing, CMO and all this stuff. It seems like a very, we're burdening them with these little tasks that somebody else could easily answer.
So let's jump into the retention piece, because you guys all had really great things to say about retention, and the Peers Initiative was one thing for you guys, but also, what are you guys doing to retain?
So what we do to retain, but also to motivate, is on Mondays we actually have two separate masterminds. The first mastermind is on Mondays. This is where we assemble the entire brand together, team captains, all the agents on the floor, and we highlight all the wins of the past week. We highlight all of the 5-star reviews we got from the agents, and we motivate them. We get them ready for the week. They absolutely love it. When we hire somebody from another brand, they say, wow, this is incredible, because they learn so much. Because what we do is we say, hey, what were the issues of the week? Who had the most nightmare transaction, and what was it about and whatnot? So when we do this, we all learn collectively together, and this is how we're able to keep our agents, because they love that atmosphere. They just enjoy it.
Maintaining that culture. And
Yeah.
Mike and Long, you guys were talking about events as well, but you've kind of actually created almost a system around retention, and I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, I'll talk about this part, because it's hard enough to bring in an agent or buyer seller. Retaining them is even harder. So you got to actually have a process system in place to do it, because if it's a buyer seller, they'll buy with you again, or an agent that stay with you, and not only that, they'll refer you the other agent because they want to stay, right? Same with buyers and sellers. So you got to put a lot of focus on retention, which we do a lot with different events and stuff. So I'll let you talk about that as well.
So the reality is, if you're not recruiting your own agents, somebody else is. So one time,
Hold on. If you're not recruiting your own agents, somebody else is.
Gotta love on your people.
You do, because I think the idea is, as a recruiter, we're looking for that next deal. Just like a prospector, right? Oh, we got them, they joined, on to the next. You have to remember to circle back and keep re-recruiting your agents over and over again. And you can do that one-to-many. We've got a great one-to-many approach with a lot of different events we do. But ultimately, we also do it one-to-one. And now we're talking about an organization of 750 people. And the two of us are the ones that are actively staying in front of 750 people. Again, one-to-one and one-to-many. So we have to make that obviously into a system. We're not going to be able to just wing that. It's got to be systematic. It's got to be well planned, but it has to be executed. Our retention rate stays higher the more that we actually stay in front of them. People are going to leave for one of two reasons, or both. One, they're not being successful enough, not making enough money, and two, they're disconnected. You can easily solve the disconnected one by staying in front of them.
That's awesome.
All right. Well, let's give them a round of applause, guys. This was super insightful.